Good afternoon. My name is Tony Cardenas, and this is the Indianapolis Real Estate Market Weekly Update. Today we have a special show. I'm sitting here today with Shelly Walters with EXP, Stacy Subzak with Compass Real Estate, and Stacy Berry with Century 21 Sheets. Hi, everybody. How you doing?
We're doing great.
Hey, Tony.
Hi, everyone.
Okay. Hey, this is going to be a really interesting, fun show. We are going to talk about the women in the real estate business, okay, which is really the dominant market, right? So, Shelly, let's kick it off with you.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to start with some stats that, we're going to do this. So 65% of women are in real estate, so more than men. And then that's in the residential real estate. And then there's in 1908, it was 100% males. So we've come a long way. We were barred, actually, from being in the real estate industry if you're in major cities. They would let women in more of the outside areas, outliers, because they just needed the bodies. But in the cities, only men were allowed. So that was our first woman came in 1910. But so right now in 1978 is when it went over 50% of women. So not about 1978 is when it turned over to more women than men.
Well, Stacy, let me ask you a question. What got you started in the real estate business, please?
So I think this question is always funny. And when you talk to realtors, especially women, I think everybody just has this story to tell that was never planned. I think a lot of us women are trying to raise a family, trying to do multitasking life. And to be honest, I used to be a teacher. The short story is I took a master's class one summer and I absolutely hated it. And I'm a busybody. So I decided, what can I do? Something fun to learn about. I took a real estate class for fun. And honestly, without a plan, I still taught. I mean, there's a longer story to my story, but I just went off and did a real estate class just to educate myself. And that's really how it all started.
And how many years ago?
This is my 17th year with Century 21 Sheets. Totally non-planned career.
Wow. So that's the only place you've worked?
It is. I started there under Steve Decatur, Glenn Bill, Tim O'Connor, who were some of my best mentors ever. And in 2008, Tracy Hutton and Mick came in, and I have been there. I mean, when I left the real estate exam course where they said, where do you want to hold your license? I had no idea what I was doing. And most of my class at that point went to Century 21 at the Crossing. And I was like, I'm going with them. And I've been there ever since.
Isn't that crazy? So do you remember how many houses you possibly sold your very first year? Did you sell 1 or 10?
No, it's funny. I was just telling someone this story because my first year full-time in real estate, I had my son and I sold 15 houses. And looking back now, honestly, that's kind of a lot. And I was just a go-getter. I was doing anything and everything I can to not go back into that classroom, to be honest. And I dealt with 120 parents daily. So working with 15 clients for the whole year, honestly, it was such a different atmosphere. So that's really it inspired me to keep going.
That's just fantastic. And Stacy Subzak, how did you get into the business?
Oh gosh, my husband, we have yours, mine, and ours. We got married, and I had my own bakery for years. I had a pie shop in Broad Ripple, and that's how I met Dave. And then we got married and had ours, 2 more. And it was too much to have 2 businesses at the time. So I worked for him, and he's a custom home builder. So I learned so much about construction and was also the PTO president for 8 years running in Westfield. So then I knew everybody.
You knew a lot of families.
People, and I was used to balance and everything. And then kids started to leave, and I was needing to get busy, and my husband said, oh my gosh, go get a job. And so somebody said, why don't you become a realtor? So I got my license, and I sat in the car and cried every day. How am I going to pass this? I hadn't been in school for so long. And I went immediately to the Tucker Suburban North office over in Westfield when they had the little one by Target. And it was the year the recession kicked in, and I, by the grace of God, started selling tons of houses because there was no construction. Dave wasn't building anything for a few years.
Absolutely.
So it just took off. I sold $3 million the first year, then $5 million the second year, and it's just gone up and up and up. And it was a fit. I love working with the people. They trusted me. I was a nurturer. I take care of them, just like you do with your mom and PTO president.
Well, exactly. And, in this industry, I think how you guys probably took off really well is that you were busy prior to, but it's all the relationships that you've made prior to that, okay, that probably really kicked off your world in the real estate business for you. I mean, relationships are everything, aren't they, Shelly?
Well, we start to just have so much friends that come from this too. I mean, the amount of friendships I've made has just been one of the best parts of the whole business, I think, too. I did not realize, Stacy, you started in 2008 as well. Yes. So did I. And yeah, that's so funny. And that was a really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's when we all kind of really kicked it off.
We had to hustle because it was a recession.
Yeah.
I mean, you couldn't just walk in with
better.
a camera and take a picture. You had to think outside the box. How am I going to sell this thing?
Well, and we didn't know, like you said, didn't know any better. And I would remember I was with Keller Williams, and I started because Kim Alexander, who owned the Keller Williams, was my real estate agent when we were buying and selling homes. And so I wanted to go work with her. I had friends in the business and thought that would be something I would enjoy doing. And so I would sit at I called the water cooler, but it was actually the printer at Keller Williams in the office. And I just heard all the agents come in and talk and complain. Mm-hmm. And you know how we get around and we start talking about what's going on in the deal. And I learned so much. Oh, yeah. But the main thing they were all saying is, my phone's not ringing. My phone's not ringing. And in my head, I'm going, well, then make it ring. I mean, you just go make it ring. And so there wasn't anything handed to us in 2008. There was nothing fast.
There wasn't a lot of tools either.
No,
we didn't know any better.
You just had to go out and make it work. And I was Rookie of the Year that year for the region. And I was looking back at that, that year and saying, well, that just seems like what it's supposed to be. And then it just kept going and going, but I didn't know any better.
So, Stacy, Subsac, did you have any mentors help you, walk you through anything?
Oh, that was the sweetest little office. We only had about 25 or 30 agents. And
what company were you with?
It was at Tucker, because I was at Tucker for, almost 16 years. Uh-huh. And they did wonderful training program, and they all mentored us. It was fun. They took me under their wing, and I think I followed them around and went to their open houses and did everything.
Right. Mm-hmm. And then you just start getting customers and customers and customers.
And now working for some families 3 times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or their kids. It's so fun when the kids, been around. I've mine 14 years, so now their kids, or you watch their kids grow up, start going to their kids' graduations.
Well, that's right. That's what's crazy. I mean, how many times, Stacy Berry, have your customer call you up and say, we're buying another house. I'm sure that's happened many times, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny because I think the people who really, you see them thriving and really enjoying what they do are the realtors that are less transactional based and more relational based. And I think there was a while where, I'm a big connector, and I think that's part of why a lot of us, are able to grow businesses every year is we work and we genuinely care. And so I had to kind of train to people, be like, I'm going to call you, text you, email you, ask you to coffee. You may not be ready to sell your home, and that's fine. I like to keep in touch with
planting
people.
The seed.
I like to just keep in touch, keep relationships growing,
networking. Knowing
that, you have me as like your resource. And if you ever do have anybody who might need an agent, you think of me up front. And so that's been so helpful because those people, even some of my best resources are my past teacher friends, and teachers know everybody, but they don't move a lot. They don't have, a lot of them unfortunately don't have the resources to. Right. But when you give that back and people feel it genuinely, yes, the repeat business, it just comes.
Well, and that's what's always so nice is to have the phone ring and have them say, Susie said that I should call you because you did so good for them. It just makes you feel so good when you help somebody and that they appreciated it and they did realize how much we cared when we were trying to help them buy or sell a home, and that they passed your name on to somebody else. That's the biggest compliment ever.
Well, and I think referrals are everything.
They are. And I think, this is where women shine, to be honest, more.
That's why I'm having this show. They do shine.
We have that, a lot of women realtors have that intuition and knowing. If you're moving in somebody from Florida, honestly, it's not even about the house. They need doctors. They need preschools. They need summer camps. They need all of the details to help them get the process going.
Besides just going on a website and looking,
and honestly,
right. 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath. That's not the most important part. Anybody can find you a house.
You need to find the agent that's going to help you find the lifestyle.
Right.
And they're going to be there after you close, when you have a leak or you need a warranty claim. Right. And you can call them for a suggestion about an investment. And that's where I think women in this industry really stand out.
Absolutely. And then it's really cool after you've known them for 18 years and when they first moved in, their child was 5, 7, or 8. And now they call you up and they say, hey, my son and daughter-in-law are going to buy a home. That's where the magic is. And I know it's happened for both of you guys. Am I right? Or all three of
Yeah.
all three of you
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
I mean, that happens over and over and over again. And then it's really, when you get second and third generation referrals, it's like crazy.
We're
isn't
not
it?
there yet. We're not
Yeah.
that old.
I know, but I'm just saying it's happening in the world right now. I mean, my wife, she's a hairdresser, okay? She's not only cutting the original customer, but she's cutting her sons, and now she's cutting the son that got married, the daughter, and now the children. It's crazy, and it's all from referral. You can go out there and get a better price on a haircut, but you're not going to have a better time and knowing what you're getting from getting a haircut from my wife all the time.
I think people have a really strong concern when they're going to go buy or sell a house that they're going to have somebody who they can trust. And trust, you can't just throw a dart at the wall or open the yellow pages like we used to say and pick somebody out. When you have somebody that you can ask and how things went, there's so much, like you said, you're buying something other than a house. You're buying your lifestyle, where they're going to live, where they're going to play, who are their friends going to be, and what we're moving from. If we're moving from a different state, how can we replicate what we're used to? And we have to listen to all of that.
Well, and most people in real estate in general, and especially the women, where they're all talking about their husbands told them to get a job or they're divorced, they need income. They have major qualifications behind the scenes in some way that's going to help with organizing, decorating, some sort of trait that honestly not everybody has. When we kind of can offer those things where I think there's a comfort level of the things we hear. I mean, I'm told sometimes that they want a divorce before they told the other person. And I feel like,
Yes.
sometimes they
And
feel more
that's the
comfortable
truth.
coming to the woman and confiding in or asking for advice in certain situations because we aren't just focused on the house.
No.
We focus on the staging, the decorating.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys have had those phone calls. I'm thinking about getting a divorce. What do I do with my house? Hey, by the way, do you know an attorney? I'm sure you've had all those kinds of questions.
So many hats. It's amazing.
And
And that gets back to the trust that they actually feel like they can come to us because in the end, I think it is a friendship that's evolved as well. We're not there for
We care about our families. I mean, they feel like they're my family.
Right.
Yeah.
And they become part of us for, 30 to 60 days on an almost daily basis.
Yeah.
It's hard to just say goodbye, you get a relationship going, a very strong one.
Well, and typically the women in most households, a lot of them, they run the shows a little bit. So is a woman realtor, and I'm connected with her, through the process, you kind of actually have a little bit of a one-up when they might be, if they ever interview or they're considering.
I agree.
I feel like if the wife is happy wife, happy life. So, if you
That's
can
true.
connect with the woman in the transaction, a lot of times you have really good referral and repeat business.
Absolutely. It's crazy, but I think the relationships, I'm not knocking men today. Okay? I'm not at all, because there's a lot of great realtors out there that are obviously the males. And I just think you get a different connection. It's like you do just exactly what you said. You have a one-up when you guys get to deal with the wife going into the game, and just it's a different connection, I think. Okay. And I think this market is the market is changing right now. We just went over the stats, and we're getting back to a normal market now. So instead of rushing out and just buying a home today, that's the one you get because that's what's available. Your guys are getting back into a normal market where, just like Shelly last Saturday or last Friday, she showed 8 homes to one buyer. I mean, the market's getting back. And those are the kind of things that the buyers need to know and what's happening with the market. So let's talk about market for a minute. What are you seeing in the market right now when you're dealing with your customers?
And I'm curious to see what you all say as well. But in the last few weeks with the shift in the rates, I'm definitely seeing a difference. I'm seeing it more so in the townships, though, and down on a lake where I work a little bit, and try to sell. The Hamilton County, the places where maybe people still use the public schools a lot, it has slowed some, but I'm still getting offers and selling fairly quickly for great pricing. Right. I'm seeing those outskirts areas where it has slowed down some.
Oh yeah, I got the rate board right up here right now. You are tapping on the door of 6% all day long. Okay, and you can still lock in the 5s, but you better be the right excellent customer. If not, you're going to start paying points. And I'm telling you what, we are going to see 6.25 any day. Any day. It's coming right in the corner.
I listed 2 over the weekend in Westfield, and it was funny. There were agents that sent, we bought multiple offers on both.
Sure.
Like 8, we maybe had 16 showings on each, but the price points they were 2 months ago, we would have had 30 showings and 25 offers. But the agents that were sending pre-approvals back from May were shocking to me. I'm like, it's a different rate. I want to see something new. Can they actually afford it? Yeah, I mean, because it's making a huge difference on a young buyer's payment. Well,
that's right. A matter of fact, this show today is brought to you by Simple Mortgage 123. They're out of Indiana, and they're a rate discounter. Now, the only time you really want a discount is when the market's like this, okay? Every little eighth or a quarter helps get somebody qualified. But you're right, excuse me. On the pre-approvals, they need to be redone and rerun, okay? I'm not just talking about changing the letter. I'm talking about going in there, rerunning the DU, and having a loan number up there. When you run a DU, you get a loan number, and that's going to be updated, and it's going to have all your details in it. If not, they're going to have a shocker. They're going to get there, and their payment, the payment that we just did, Shelly and I did a comparison. A payment from December 23rd to a payment right now, you're up about $550. Okay, just on the difference of about a $400,000 mortgage, $550. Okay, now I haven't ran these numbers, but I'm going to tell you something. They got to be tapping on the door of $600 difference. Now that might not hurt some people, but that can stop you from showing that 450 where you got to back down to a 350 or vice versa. You're right. It's a different market. Are you seeing pre-approvals come in with old ones?
I'm not. Really haven't seen a whole lot of that. But what I can tell you, I'm focusing a lot because I list a lot more homes than I have buyers sometimes. But I have never had to look at the purchase agreement where you're filling in where it says, we all put in best rate, and we've never thought twice about it.
Right.
But, whether you agree or disagree, and I haven't figured out which role I'm going to take yet, but, I got an offer and they said, best rate up to 5.8. And I'm thinking, oh crap. Like, I don't know if that's good for my seller to take that because what if the rate goes higher?
Couldn't do it. Yeah.
So, but people are starting to do that.
That's subject to that buyer and that credit score and that loan to value. So today you would not, I'm telling you right now, if you look at that board right there, you would not want to do that. And I think that can hurt the seller.
Yeah.
Obviously also it's going to affect
for the
buyer.
buyer too, though, when you see that is if you put best also, I think there's 2 sides to this as well, Stacy. And I know that's what you're saying. You're not quite sure which road to take on this. If I would write the offer for best and we get to 8% by, the time they lock in and they had their pre-approval for 6%.
And they can't afford it.
They can't do it. It's totally different. So best doesn't really work. Writing in an interest rate doesn't really work. I mean, we're just at that point.
What were we? Originally, we were all trained to add 1% to the current rate. And that's what we should write in there to cap it. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
You always did 1% over.
See, I've always just wrote best.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
you're right. The best for who? But you're right. But I think that can get you a cancellation on the deal.
It just opens a whole can of worms.
But you got a rate board starting to go up to 7.125%. Now, we're not there yet, but I have not seen that on a rate board in
years.
Yeah. What is a jumbo? I had a high-end buyer coming in from California and took their price point from 1.5 down to 1.25 really quickly because of the rates.
Right. Well, the jumbo market is a little bit different, okay? I don't want to quote the rates on here right now, but I'll get them for you after the show. But the jumbo market's a little bit different, okay? And it's a different buyer.
And it's a different buyer. They ended up going with the 7-year arm. That was that was their way to get in the door.
I hope the hell they locked it.
They did.
I hope they did.
But how many times in the last 2 years have you seen someone do an arm?
I know.
You haven't seen it really in the last, I've seen it in the last 6 months. I mean, you could have got a really aggressive arm 6 months ago. I mean, crazy low. As long as you know you're not going to be there for 7 years, it's actually a better deal. But you got to understand the mortgage. You got to understand real estate. You guys understand what I'm talking about. But most buyers don't understand that, unless he's a stockbroker or something like that. Okay. Well, let me ask you this. What do you, here's a big question. I don't know if I'm going to say it right, but I see these young kids getting into the market, and I have more passion for the young girls that are getting in it because I have daughters. Okay. What if you told them anything, what's the top 2 things? I'm going to do this separately. Stacy Subzak, I'm going to ask you first. If you saw a girl getting in the business, it's in your office, and you didn't really know her, and she asked you for 2 pieces of advice, what would you give her today? It's a tough question.
It's a tough question. Depends on her place in life. Is she married, little tiny kids? My daughter has a baby, and I'm trying to bring her into it, and she doesn't want to at this point. She's too focused on being a mom.
If I had somebody like yourself or like you or Shelly that had a daughter, I would want to be blending myself in with my mom's business.
With that, and get involved in as much as you can get involved. Be active. Get out and meet people. I used to look at people in the office and go, "Why are you sitting in here? You're not going to meet people sitting in here."
That's exactly right. Shelly, what's your piece of advice?
Well, I do have a daughter getting ready to come into the business who's
She's
working
sitting
with
right
me.
behind me.
Who's helping me right now. We are a family team. So I've already had one daughter come in, and she's now a mom and staying home for with her little babies as well. But it's fun having your kids come in and your family come in. And I have my son-in-law, I have my mom, I have my other son, I have my daughter, 2 daughters. So we are a family team, and it just grows like that. And one of the things that was funny was when they were talking about how did women emerge into real estate, and NAR's thing was they would either be widowed or a daughter of a real estate man, or they would come in as a husband and wife team or their son and team. So it was always a merging of somebody else already in the business.
Okay. And Stacy Barry.
I mean, I actually have a son who I think he wants to do it. He's only 15, and it actually terrifies me. I know he's not a girl, but just having a child in general. I mean, this is a tough business.
Oh, yeah,
I think you
absolutely.
have to be motivated, aggressively nice, but most importantly, you have to always keep your priorities in balance. And this is an industry that can eat you alive, and it can turn you upside down very quickly. And all of a sudden, you are not going towards the right path, and you don't even know it. And that's what scares me is, you are running your own business. There's a lot of freedom, and you have to make sure that you are committed to building a long-term plan. It's not just about today or getting to the weekend. I mean, it can get out of hand very quickly. You need to keep it, the basics, and let yourself kind of grow as organically as you can. But, some of my best mentors have taught me, whether it's a good year or a bad year or whatever you're feeling, keep it to the basics. Like, see the people. It is all about the people. If they like you, trust you, they want to work with you, and they will send you referrals. So if you need to do something or regroup, it's get back to seeing the people.
Absolutely.
Well, and we say that when you look at the amount of realtors that come into the business, the realtors usually leave within 2 years. They say about 80% of them will leave within 2 years. So it is a very difficult business. And a lot of people say, I want to be a realtor because it's fun. It has good money.
We show houses.
Yeah, get to show houses. And you can, set your own schedule. Well, that last one is just so untrue.
Yeah.
But you have to, like you said, you have to really balance your family. And with my daughter sitting right here in the room, she probably saw me not balance my family very well, because when you are trying to start your business up, you are working 80, 90 hours a week.
It's like you're working every Saturday and Sunday.
And work Saturday and Sunday and evenings and everything else. And people need to understand that this is a business, and you are going to be working with people's huge amount of asset that they're going to have financially, whatever. So you can't just take it like, I'll do it when I want to. You have to take it so seriously, and you're dealing with other people's lives.
I mean, I think anyone who comes in and creates any new business, you need to give it 3 years.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, you have to be committed to being able to pay your bills and keep yourself afloat and be content with growing the business. And it can take up to 3 years before you have maybe a repeat person or start to get a few referrals. And it really is, I mean, I would say give yourself 6 months to get that first closing in. I mean, in realistic, real world, if and are starting from ground zero, you've got to get your clients, get them to like you, trust you, get them out looking at houses, get them under contract, and then close. I mean, it takes months.
Absolutely. Stacy Subzak, you're with the new company here in the Indiana region, okay, Compass Real Estate. You leaving another company, how'd you like the change? Because I think that's a big step for a real estate agent to do. I think it's a big step. I mean, you were at home with another company for a long time. Did that give you a little bit of fear to do that move?
Oh, I cried. I love them, but this is a big national company growing.
Right.
Just hit the Fortune 500, and I wanted the challenge. And I was actually in a closing at the Village of West Clay, and I was sitting in another agent's office Mike's seller and his buyer were from the West Coast in Washington, D.C., and I was getting text from this company, from the recruiter, and I just mentioned it to the other agent, and my client heard, and he said, "Oh, it's a big company. You should talk to them, Stacy. You would be good at that." They trusted me. I worked for them 3 times. They bought homes over $1 million, 3 in 2 years. Anyway, so it's made me step up, and I'm networking with agents around the country that sell $30 and $100 million homes. It's cool. It's different.
It is. It's a different. And Shelly, you were with another company for a long time, and you recently went to EXP. Did that bother? That kind of?
You're always concerned about what people will say. We don't get fired when we switch brokerages. And a lot of times I think people say, what happened? Why did you switch? We switch when we find that it's going to be maybe a better match for what we're trying to do in our business. And one of the things that I just know is anytime I've ever switched a company, the people that are hiring me are hiring for me and not the company behind me. The company behind me is for my business purposes and what they're going to provide for me and help me to make my business grow and help my clients in marketing and everything else. So when you're hiring somebody, the brand matters, but it doesn't matter as much as the actual real estate agent you're working with. So when I switched companies, I've done it a couple of times, just watching my business grow and having to find somebody else that would grow with me the way I needed.
Right.
It was always, nobody ever thought anything of it. It's Shelly Walters. That's who they're hiring.
Got you.
Yeah.
Okay. And Stacy Berry, it's cool, everybody's story, but you've been with your company a long, long time. And I got to tell you something. I'm not comparing, but it reminds me of Biff Ward. I said to Biff Ward years ago, "Why haven't you started the Biff Ward Real Estate?" And she said to me a long time ago, "It's really good where I'm at." And it must be really good where you're at Century 21 Sheets.
I mean, I love my office. I love the people. I started there. I've had my kids there. I mean, those people hold my babies. I mean, it makes me want to cry. I mean,
That's really nice.
I dropped my kids off on my way to my closings. We've had the same staff around for years. I'm also a very, very loyal person, sometimes
Absolutely.
to a fault.
Sure.
But
I think everybody can be.
The grass isn't always greener for me, and I think I'm in the heat of raising children. I have a 10-year-old and a 15-year-old.
You're busy.
And I pretty much can barely get through dinner every day, let alone thinking of taking on these massive changes. And so I think I'm smart enough to know if something needs to be changed, I will. But I also agree with Shelly. I've changed things in my team. We've had people come and go. I've changed assistants. We've changed marketing. And I think, as long as you kind of have what you're doing behind the scenes with yourself, you can always find something that could be different or better. And
absolutely.
So that's where I try to focus.
Change is good.
It is. So, but yeah, I mean, I love where I am, really.
Okay, well, thank you. Hey, everybody, thank you for coming in today. Stacy Berry with Century 21 Sheets, Stacy Subzak with Compass Real Estate, and Shelly Walters with EXP. And I know you guys all have your team names, but I'm saying the national names. Okay, so thank you for coming in, everybody. And we would like to invite you again sometime and talk about what's going on with this fall market that we're getting ready to go into, because as soon as you blink your eyes, I'm going to tell you something. Everybody's going to be back to school, which might help you a little bit, Stacy Berry, getting back into school. And, we'll be into another market.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Have a great day.